I attended Webcomicon 2025 in Ferndale, Michigan. One of the few, if not only, webcomic-focused comic conventions in the entire world. It's a surreal experience putting a face to artists like Nathan Pyle of Strange Planet, Dave McElfatrick from Cyanide Happiness and Boids, Kim Winder of The Red Dot, Sarah Andersen of Sarah's Scribbles, Ryan Rhodes, and Nick Seluk of Awkward Yeti, who organized the entire thing. And I wasn't there alone. I went alongside the artists behind the Hollering Elk comics, Tiff and Portuguese Geese, hitting up panels, workshops, not safe for work drawing battles, and just so much more. Oh, and the after party. Holy shit. The after party with all the artists who hosted booths and panels. The four of us did not have clearance to the after party, but that was something we were absolutely resolved to change. By the end of the weekend, we were all reeling from everything that happened, barely able to process it all.
I remember seeing posts from the first one, thinking how cool it was that everyone was meeting up, but I was like, oh man, I can't go all the way up to Detroit. But then, I don't know, once I saw more posts for the next year and I heard more people were going, and I'm like, why am I not going to this already? Why didn't I go last year? So I'm like, I gotta make it this year. I don't care how much it costs. And of course, it's just amazing seeing everyone, and I'm just like, holy crap, it's changing my life, like meeting these people I've been talking to, collaborating with, and just enjoying their work. And I'm like, wow, they're actually real people. Who'd have thought? They're not all their animals or lumps or shapes, whatever they draw. Like, wow.
But the main difference between Webcomicon and your standard San Diego Comic-Con or Colossal Con is that those are convention halls filled with strangers. But these web artists all generally know each other, if not in person, then from their work online, especially after the 2024 convention. Returning fans, familiar artists, it felt more like a family reunion. So, let's get into it. The second ever webcomic. Oh wait, second? What happened to the first Webcomicon? Well, yeah, I attended that one too, and was planning on doing a video about it, only for it to get delayed, and then suddenly I woke up and it was 2025. So that's that explanation. If you're watching this and haven't seen my video on Webcomicon 2024 yet, either because it's not out or this is the first video you're seeing on my channel, which in that case, welcome. I hope you stick around and subscribe and all that jazz. I'm going to stop wasting time. I've got a lot of notes to get to, so let's jump right in. Saturday, September 13th, the first day of the con. All of the artists and creators appearing at Webcomicon set up in Ferndale. Fran and Elk already had their hotel rooms, Goose was flying in that morning, and I had a drive to make. I grabbed my keys, my notebook, and I hit the road. Just like the first year, Webcomicon was held in the Rust Belt Market on Woodward Avenue, a collective of 30 independent shops with an event space and bar in the heart of downtown Ferndale. The shops range from practically anything from crochet creations to booksellers and everything in between. Woodward Avenue itself housed more than a few places to check out, like Danny's Irish Pub, Sakana Sushi Lounge, and Toast, a local brunch restaurant, which is where I met up with Ryan Rhodes for breakfast. Since Webcomicon didn't start until 11 a.m., the same time Rust Belt opened its doors, we had some time to kill. I put in a reservation, waited outside, and the way Ryan recognized me, well, you know the little hair swoop I draw on my avatar? That's not a stylistic choice, I just literally have cartoon hair. And that fact didn't get past Ryan. We took a window seat and waited for Hollering Elk and Fran Sundblad of Tiff to arrive with Goose from the airport. Wait, airport? Isn't he a goose? Why didn't he just fly himself? Only Fran and I had ever met in person, so this was the first time most of us were meeting. I spotted Fran pass by the window and guessed the other person with her was Goose. But then, a cloud of vapor plumed into view and I witnessed Hollering Elk emerge from the smoke. My first time ever seeing the woman, and it was about as dramatic as I expected. Ryan had to take off first to get to his booth, while Fran, Elk, Goose, and I caught up not long after. With our mission to secure entrance to the Artist Afterparty in mind, we headed in the back entrance of Rust Belt Market, and there it was, the entryway to Webcomicon 2025. Right off the bat, one difference I noticed was the addition of a coffee station right by the entrance. Because what goes together better than a sleep-deprived internet artist and caffeine? I say as if I didn't chug a vat of coffee at breakfast.
Definitely curious how many people might actually show up for me, specifically being with all these way bigger names. Getting to know everybody the night before, because there was a little meetup with all the artists, and we all had dinner and talked about a variety of stuff of which platforms people are doing better on, and a couple tips and tricks out there, and also nailing down the panel schedule for the weekend. But that little get together definitely helped break the ice for all the artists. So once the doors opened, it definitely felt like, oh, we're all in this together. Whatever happens, happens. And literally within a couple seconds, someone walked right up to my table and grabbed a print of my little Kendrick drawing that blew up on the little Kendrick Reddit page. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a pretty good start. And most cons, I'm usually sitting at my table drawing. I usually take it as a day off of my day job. I'll just be here drawing, sell something if anyone walks up to my table. I wasn't able to turn my iPad on the whole weekend just because I was so engaged with someone walking up to my table and talking, or the artist sitting next to me. There was endless amounts of stuff to talk about. It was really cool, actually.
Just to note a few changes to the main event area from the first year, besides things like decorations. I already mentioned the coffee station outside of the main entrance. The artist booths were arranged in a circular shape around the room with a smaller circle in the middle. The stage was blocked off. You could no longer access it for pictures like you could the first year. The create your own comic station had been moved. I'll get to that later. The lineup of artists had changed. Many returned, many didn't, while even more were brand new faces to the con. Nathan Pyle of Strange Planet was a particularly big draw, with a massive line for most of Saturday. Other new additions included Shen, Zach Stafford, Katie Cook, Ryan Rhodes, and Jim Craig, with Dana Atnip as a last-minute addition only a couple weeks before the con. Familiar faces all returned to sell more graphic novels, merch, and host panels, but faces that did not return from Webcomicon 2024 included Stephen Pastis of Pearls Before Swine, Rez Faramond, Fred Gallagher, Jeffrey Manley, and Thomas Savage. And while there was no longer a dedicated table for Webcomicon merch, I still managed to find out where it was hiding, and I picked up a pretty cool hat. I don't really wear hats, but, well, they didn't have a pin or tote bag like the first year, so I needed something. Though I did get a little figure of the newly debuting mascot of Webcomicon, Webster. He came in a whole variety of colors, pink, purple, blue, and he's just downright cute. I love him.
This year definitely felt busier, and I made more money. I actually covered all of my travel costs and hotel and stuff. I only made $20 profit, but I covered the cost, which all I cared about. The layout this year I feel was better. I know they had the little stage last year with all the cutouts on it, but I feel that it was more organic this year with the layout.
So Fran, Goose, Elk, and... Wait, where'd Elk go? Oh, she's at the bar. Well, good a time as any to mention another new Webcomicon 2025 thing. Lest we forget, Rust Belt has a bar, conveniently situated right outside the VIP area. Because what goes together better than stressed out, algorithm-abused artists and alcoholism? The Webcomicon bar special was the Head and Heart, named after Awkward Yeti's Heart and Brain comics. It was made with jalapeno honey syrup, lime juice, and a splash of orange blossom water, ginger beer, and orange garnish with your choice of spirit. Naturally, as an avid researcher and historical documentarian, I partook of the drink. Frankly, I think I much preferred the first year's drink more, but I'm the sort of person who likes my drinks to taste like candy, so take my opinion on alcohol with a rim of salt. Anyway, I partook my drink in 2 minutes because I had places to be. The Webcomicon panels. And just like Webcomicon 2024, all of the panels were hosted at 215 West Ferndale, and all the workshops set in the Painting with a Twist studio. And first up on the docket was the future of comic strips. The four of us shuffled in and took our seats, which, thank God, that Webcomicon special, I got it with tequila, and I just chugged it. I do not have the tolerance I did in college. And the panel began. The Future of Comic Strips, hosted by Beetle Moses, Shen, and Mark Dudley. It was a discussion panel that looked back at the history of webcomics and speculated about where they were headed. The hosts touched on a litany of topics, from the internet in general to social media, AI, and the kind of webcomic setups that are largely impossible nowadays. Once upon a time, the internet itself posed a sort of threat to traditional comic artists. Eventually, though, it was embraced, and webcomics became their own medium. They talked about the rise of things like Homestuck before the age of social media kind of killed that format, and the rise of AI art and AI artists. They discussed how things really never stopped changing, so all we could do was look forward to what changes may come. Mark Dudley made a point that really resonated with me in saying art is communication. In an age where Disney did nothing but remake all their classic movies and theaters were filled with nothing but sequels or prequels, creativity felt pretty dead. Dudley believed the future of comic strips, webcomics, and the entirety of art as a whole will be rediscovering the soul of art. The panel came to a close, but the next one started right away, bringing in the big guns Nathan Pyle. Fran and I stayed behind while Elk and Goose stepped outside for some air, or to duke it out, one of the two. Nathan Pyle was a huge draw for Webcomicon 2025, and his panel was predictably packed. With a meteoric rise in popularity, the Strange Planet show on Apple TV already had the ball rolling a few months after he started the comic in 2019.
So it was really like very common hiding everything in your closet when friends come over. But for me, it felt like perfect inspiration for Strange Planet, where at the very first Strange Planet comic, they say, we own things, but we've hidden them. And that's what humans do. When friends come over, you just hide all your stuff, basically.
Strange Planet follows the strange beings, little blue extraterrestrials navigating a world very parallel to our own, but with a few key differences, namely the vocabulary they use to interact with their day-to-day lives. He talked about his experiences growing as a webcomic creator and his time with Dan Harmon, navigating the process of launching a successful TV show. And as Strange Planet was, nothing could have prepared him for the strangeness of questions he got from the show writers. Things like, what do their high fives sound like? And do they have butts? After he gave his spiel, it opened to the floor for questions. He seemed like a really cool guy, and I immediately set my mind to ask him for an interview sometime, which he would immediately agree to back in the main event area. That's something I really learned about the webcomics community. Most people are very down to earth. There really wasn't a single ego in the room at Webcomicon. Like I said earlier, it was like a family-friendly reunion, an attitude reinforced at the afterparty. But before we get to that, we need to talk about what has quickly become a staple of Webcomicon: the Not Safe for Work drawing battle. Okay, so, the Not Safe for Work drawing battle. How do I talk about this on YouTube? A brief overview: drop 3 to 4 artists in a room. In this case, it was Dave McElfatrick of Cyanide, Happiness, and Boids, Zach Stafford of Extra Fabulous Comics, Brian Gordon of Foul Language, and Ryan Rhodes of Roads to Nowhere. Then there's a bit of audience participation. Suggestions combining 2 or 3 topics, concepts, or ideas that the artist had to interpret in any way they wanted. Except for this case, it's required to be grossly unhinged. Namely, that means involving something with everyone's dangly bits. They rolled out prompts like and we got pictures like this. Okay, I quickly realized this is an impractical section for a YouTube video, so I'll be putting this video up on my Patreon uncensored. After a long, hard day of signing, drawing, and conversing with fans, Nick Seluk treated his panelists and VIP ticket holders to an after-party. And that's it. You were either part of the con, a paying customer, or you had special permission. If Fran, Elk, Goose, and I wanted to get in, we had to go for the third option. It was just a matter of finding who we needed special permission from. Our first choice was Nick Seluk. He was putting on the thing, so it made sense to ask him. And luckily, after the Nathan Pyle panel, we saw him walking down the opposite side of the street. It was a perfect time to ask him. What wasn't a perfect way to ask him was Elk hollering across the street going, "Awkward Yeti, I need to talk to you!" And thankfully, instead of calling the cops on 4 deranged artists screaming at him, he gestured for us to follow him back to the main area. But when we got there, we kinda lost him and had no idea where he went. Eventually, we did manage to get our special bands, and we were finally allowed to attend the Webcomic Artist Afterparty. You can only talk to people behind a booth for so long without being that guy holding up the line, especially if the lines were as long as they were for Sarah Andersen and Nathan Pyle, so it was amazing getting the chance to just chat with everyone for a few hours. Especially for me, with this whole channel. When I interview these artists and I ask questions about their lives and careers and we chat before and after I hit record, well, I've had the privilege of becoming friends with a lot of them. And Webcomicon 2025 was a chance for me to step outside of work mode and just hang out. And I'll be real, I've been waiting an entire year to hear Red Dot sing Hamilton at karaoke.
Everyone that I met, like one after the other, like the energy was that like, oh, we're gonna be friends. We get along great. We both love comics. So in my brain, I'm like, okay, this other human being is another human being like me. We are equals. But also, holy shit, that's Shen. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to fathom, I guess, you know?
That weekend, that after party, I learned that in the webcomics community, everyone is each other's fans. Everyone was starstruck by each other, regardless of how many followers or genre. It was an amazing weekend. One I don't think any of us will soon forget. No shit, that was only half my script. Sunday, September 14th, the second day of the con. We woke up bright and early after a long night, and the mission for Sunday was to make our merch purchases. We scoped out everyone and picked up any stickers, hats, mascots, books, and anything else we wanted to get our hands on. I will never financially recover from this. I went home with a sticker from Ryan Rhodes to go next to my Red Dot one she gifted me at the 2024 convention, fangs from Sarah Andersen, a couple posters, a Possum Punk sticker, ADHD Dino stickers, the entire 4-book collection of the extras. Of course, I got my Webster and Webcomicon 2025 hat, the latter of two which I just found in the back of the hall with no vendor there to actually purchase them. So I grabbed it and asked Awkward Yeti directly, which apparently they only had like the 2 hats that were there. So, hey, I'm a proud owner of the most exclusive Webcomicon 2025 merch. No idea who the other one is because the other hat vanished from its place at some point. And if I were a rich man, I would have loved to get my hands on some of the auction items. There were these custom artist Pokemon cards, but last I checked, the bid was circling around $1,000. I'm a YouTuber and an artist. I don't think I'll ever have that kind of money. Also around that time, I happened to catch the guys from Threadless recording footage for their own coverage of Webcomicon. They've worked with countless creators in comics and on YouTube, like Nathan Pyle and Strange Planet. Webcomicon 2025 had a couple different brands and sponsors represented there, like Rocket Ship, Possum Punks, and Animation Plus. The latter you might know from things like Cyanide Happiness Shorts and Ed's World. Oh, and let's not forget Andrew McNeil's Go Comics. They've supported countless comic artists over the years, so of course they'd want to support a Comic-Con like this. They had a special guest beyond the already special guests with booths and panels, Jeff Millette, creator of the Fraz comics. He was signing autographs until 1 o'clock that day. A series often compared to Calvin and Hobbes for its style, there's literally an entire section of its Wikipedia devoted to that. Fraz follows school janitor Fraz as he mentors the students of the school, particularly Caulfield, a genius who hates school because it fails to challenge him. I actually got the chance to chat with him, but that's a story for a different video. This one is already too long. And then, of course, there was the second round of panels and workshops.
One of the biggest reasons I got into webcomics is I love the community and all the varying personalities and styles of comics, and I wanted to immerse myself in that, and I'm a total geek when it comes to webcomics. So I love stuff like Sarah Andersen's comics. I've always loved Strange Planet, and Zach and Extra Fabulous, and obviously meeting Red Dot. It was a bit much for me on day one, and then the day two, I had to sleep in, and I took an hour to myself just to hype myself up and convince myself that I was worthy of being in the presence of someone like Nathan Pyle, who turns out has read my comics, and that's something that broke my brain, man. It's gonna be months before the impact of that hits me. It's he is such a champion, and he's just done incredible things with his comic. I mean, he got a TV show. the guy is living the dream, and for somebody and like his kind words and like his support and his encouragement and the fact that he shared my work with his wife, like that kind of thing was really touching, and it was life-changing. It's a very niche industry, but to make those kinds of connections with people of that status is a really, really special thing. It was transcendent for me.
Day 2 of Webcomicon 2025 had plenty more to offer, including the comics and animation discussion beginning at noon with Ryan Rhodes, Red Dot, Dave McElfatrick, and Gijo Sleeper hosting.
I really liked the animation panel this year because that's something that more webcomic artists are doing, and actually getting to hear their side of it, of how they got into it, of how to go about getting into it too. That was very interesting to hear. They're also more prepared for that panel, I have to say. So the people on it, like Ryan and Kim, they were more enthusiastic with their answers.
The discussion covered the state of the animation industry, or rather the numerous problems plaguing it, the rise of bigger indie animation like Has-Been Hotel and The Amazing Digital Circus, and promising up-and-comers like Litterbox Comics' animated projects. One of the biggest annoyances they touched on, though, studio notes. I'm sure you've heard horror stories of why some movies or TV episodes release in confusingly bad states because studio execs and the creatives don't see eye to eye.
There's so many notes, and they want it to fit into their brand.
A tamer example is Gravity Falls being forced to remove a spin the bottle reference in an episode, while a more egregious one would be, like, Marvel editorial turning Spider-Man comics into Peter Parker torture porn since 2008. Have you ever wished you could draw a mech? I don't care if you're talking Transformers or Gurren-Lagann, they're cool. But where do you even begin? There's so many bits and parts and pieces, it's gotta be insanely complicated, right? Well, I used to think that before attending the Drawing Mecha workshop with Mark Dudley. In that workshop, he broke down exactly how to draw different kinds of mecha in a way that makes it easy. This was probably one of the most interesting talks of the entire weekend, at least the ones I was able to attend. I loved hearing Dudley's expertise on the topic because, well, mechs are his bread and butter. It's something so niche that, besides knowing it existed conceptually, I didn't really know anything about how to draw a mech. And after that workshop, I'd sketch my own. Look at this guy. That's a good guy right there. And speaking of drawing your own thing, that draw your own comic station I mentioned earlier, I thought it had been done away with. But I was finally able to locate it after the Drawing Mecha workshop around the corner of a wall in Painting with a Twist. / just hang your own picture. It was decorated with an odd amount of Smash Bros characters. It was just a wall. Maybe not the best place for it, tucked away where no one could find it. The Create Your Own Comic Station was pretty popular the first year, with tons of smaller comic creators signing their names on their custom comics. But, oh well. I really hope future Webcomicons have more panels and workshops like this, more focused presentations on the presenters' specific areas of expertise. The Drawing Mecha workshop ran at the same time as the Writing for Comics panel, and I unfortunately can't be in two places at once. But we did catch the final workshop, and the final event of Webcomicon, the all-ages live drawing battle. It had far less than the other drawing battle. For this draw battle, the standard rules still applied. Audience suggestions and the artists interpreting it however they need to. But obviously this one was skewed more towards not prompts like sad Halloween comedy, dragon drinking coffee in a mall, rainbow. That was one of the prompts, just rainbow. And still, Jim Benton pulled an awesome stunt of making his drawing interactive. Benton was actually super wholesome the entire time. He specifically asked for a suggestion from the youngest member in the audience, who suggested gross food as a prompt. Overall, it was a heartwarming note to end the convention on. With the end of the drawing battle came the end of Webcomicon 2025. It was a fantastic weekend, meeting all of the artists, hearing about their lives as webcomic creators and the places it's taken them. It really is a special community, one that's always been so distant and separated until this convention could bring them all together in one place. Saying goodbye to each other was like pulling teeth, but eventually everyone had to split ways. It kind of made me reflect on my short journey as well. August 2025 marks only 2 years since I really started my channel. Started interviewing artists and the history of webcomics, and now here I am having drinks with the Red Dot, chatting with Sarah Andersen, hanging out with Hollering Elk. It's all snowballed way faster than I ever could have expected.
Really legitimately felt like a family reunion in a way. Like I loved that energy of it, you know?
The night ended with an announcement that Nick Seluk had already booked the dates for Webcomicon 2026, the initial weekend in August, 1st and 2nd. So, until 2026, I won't be forgetting a single thing from this con for a while.
Oh, it looks like Aura forgot his sweatshirt. Why don't we drive to Toledo to return it?
Fran, I am begging you.
Oh, sorry, did you want to spend more time in Detroit?